14,300 years ago, a human being squatted in the dark of an Oregon cave and left something behind. Something that would lie frozen in desert sediment for over 14 millennia, until a team of researchers in 2002 dug it up and changed the entire story of human history. We're not talking about a weapon, a painting, or a burial site. We're talking about human waste. And buried inside it was ancient DNA that shattered the timeline scientists had taught for generations. 8 caves, carved into volcanic rock above a long-vanished lake in the high desert of south-central Oregon. What was discovered inside these caves that pushed back the arrival of the first Americans by 6,000 years? And why did it take frozen feces to prove it? 8 caves carved not by human hands, but by ancient waves. Waves from a lake that no longer exists, crashing against basalt cliffs millions of years ago. Today they sit silent at 4,520 feet above sea level, in one of the most desolate corners of south-central Oregon, facing west. As if watching for something that never came back, these are the Paisley Caves. And for most of the 20th century, they were little more than a geological curiosity. That changed in 2002 when excavations began turning up something extraordinary buried in the sediment: subfossil human coprolites, ancient, preserved human feces. Scientists extracted DNA from them, real human DNA. And when they radiocarbon-dated what they found, the number came back almost too large to process. 14,300 years before present, roughly 12,000 BC. That is not a rounding error. That is 6,000 years before the textbook said anyone was here. 8 caves, frozen in time, holding the oldest confirmed genetic fingerprint of human life in North America. But what was hidden inside these walls would turn out to be far more intimate than anyone expected. What they found inside wasn't tools, it wasn't weapons, it wasn't art carved into the rock, it was human waste. Preserved coprolites, ancient, desiccated, and extraordinarily intact, sitting in the dry sediment of these 8 caves carved into basalt ridges at 4,520 feet above sea level. Shaped millennia ago by the waves of a vanished Pleistocene lake. Luther Cressman first brushed soil away from this site in the 1930s. And what he encountered told him people had been here far earlier than the textbooks admitted. He was right. He just couldn't yet prove exactly how right. That proof would require something Cressman's era didn't have, a way to read the biological signature locked inside those coprolites at the molecular level. Human DNA, ancient, degraded, but unmistakably real. Yet the most precise answer to that question wouldn't come until decades after Cressman put down his brush. What we do know is this: when that answer finally arrived, the date attached to it didn't just push history back slightly, it shattered the timeline entirely. The proof came from 8 caves carved into an ancient basalt ridge in south-central Oregon. 8 caves, sitting at 4,520 feet elevation, facing west across the Summer Lake Basin, a desolate, windswept stretch of land that looks like it has forgotten what life feels like. These are the Paisley Caves. Scientific excavations beginning in 2002 started pulling the past out of the rock. Animal remains, artifacts, and something far more intimate: subfossil human coprolites. Ancient human waste, preserved for thousands of years inside these dark chambers. When researchers extracted DNA from those samples and sent them for radiocarbon dating, the results stopped the room cold. 14,300 years before present, roughly 12,000 BC, not a margin of error, not a rounding mistake. A confirmed date that placed humans in North America centuries before the textbook timeline even begins. These caves weren't just old. They were carved by Pleistocene-era waves from a lake that no longer exists in the same form, shaped by forces from an entirely different world. But one category of find was so unexpected that even seasoned archaeologists had to look twice. Human waste, that was the category. Ancient, preserved, fossilized human waste. Remember what I told you earlier, that what was hidden inside these walls would turn out to be far more intimate than anyone expected. Well, here is the payoff. Because nestled inside the sediment of Paisley Caves, archaeologists excavating since 2002 pulled out something that stopped them cold. Subfossil human coprolites. Dried, preserved excrement, thousands of years old. And locked inside that biological material was something no stone tool could ever give you directly. Human DNA, not animal DNA, not contamination, human. Extracted from the most personal biological trace a person can leave behind. The unexpected find the seasoned archaeologists had to look twice at. This was it. Not an arrowhead, not a carved bone. The most intimate remnant of a human body, sitting undisturbed at 4,520 feet in the Oregon high desert, waiting 14,000 years to be found. And the date locked inside that DNA was about to make every textbook on the continent obsolete. 14,300 years before present, not a guess, not an estimate. A hard radiocarbon date, extracted from human DNA found inside subfossil coprolites, ancient human waste, preserved in the dry volcanic chambers of the Paisley Caves. And here is where the loop closes. Decades earlier, Luther Cressman had knelt in these same caves, brush in hand, suspecting something extraordinary. The answer he couldn't quite reach. It was sitting in the sediment the whole time. It took until 2002, when a new wave of scientific excavations began uncovering coprolites, artifacts, and animal remains, for the full picture to finally emerge. The DNA inside that ancient material dated to 14,300 BP, roughly 12,000 BC. That is not 600 years before the accepted arrival date. That is 6,000 years before it. 8 caves carved by Pleistocene-era waves into ridges of Miocene and Pliocene basalt, sitting at 4,520 feet elevation in a desolate basin in south-central Oregon, and inside them, the oldest definitively dated biological evidence of human presence ever found in North America. Cressman was right. He just couldn't prove it yet. The caves did it for him. Now remember that promise I made you at the start of this video. The coprolites pulled from Paisley Caves were radiocarbon-dated to 14,300 years before present. That's roughly 12,000 BC. Not a tool, not a carved bone, human DNA. Preserved in ancient human waste, buried inside 8 caves carved into volcanic basalt by waves from a lake that no longer exists. Sitting at 4,520 feet above sea level, in one of the most desolate corners of Oregon. The excavations that began in 2002 didn't just find that DNA. They found artifacts, animal remains. A picture of human life assembling itself out of the dust of deep time. And the number that picture produces is devastating to the old story. 14,300 years. That is 6,000 years before the date that dominated classrooms for generations. Cressman walked those caves in the 1930s convinced something extraordinary had happened there. He was right. The caves were already ancient beyond measurement when the first Europeans ever imagined this continent existed. The proof was there the whole time, waiting. What was discovered inside those caves? Human coprolites. Ancient preserved waste, radiocarbon-dated to 14,300 years before present, roughly 12,000 BC. Inside them, human DNA. The oldest confirmed genetic evidence of human presence in North America. Not arrowheads, not carvings. The humans themselves, encoded in biological material that survived millennia in 8 caves carved into Oregon basalt, sitting at 4,520 feet above a long-vanished lake. The answer was there the whole time, hidden in something no one thought to look for. If this rewrite of human history shocked you, hit subscribe. Because there are dozens more stories like this one, buried just as deep, waiting just as long. But here is where it gets even stranger. Because the evidence that finally cracked this story open was not a spear point. It was not a carved bone or a painted wall. It was human waste. Ancient, fossilized, 14,000-year-old human coprolites, pulled from the floor of a cave in the high desert of Oregon. That is not a detail most history classes are rushing to include. But it is the detail that changed everything. The place is called Paisley Caves. 8 caves carved into a volcanic ridge in south-central Oregon, sitting at 4,520 feet elevation in the Summer Lake Basin. This is arid, desolate country. The kind of landscape that feels like it has been keeping secrets for a very long time, and it has. Researchers first looked at this site back in the 1930s. Then, starting in 2002, serious scientific excavations began again. And what they pulled out of those caves stopped the archaeological world cold. Subfossil human coprolites, artifacts, animal remains. The physical fingerprints of people who had no business being there, according to the timeline everyone had agreed upon. The DNA extracted from those coprolites was radiocarbon-dated to 14,300 years before present. That is roughly 12,000 BC. That pushes confirmed human presence in North America back further than the standard model ever allowed. These caves were carved by Pleistocene-era waves from Summer Lake. Ancient water sculpted ancient stone, and inside that stone, ancient people left behind the most unglamorous proof imaginable. Not art, not weapons, just existence. In 2014, Paisley Caves was added to the National Register of Historic Places. A quiet acknowledgement that what was found here mattered. That the timeline we taught for generations was not wrong by a little. It was wrong by thousands of years. If you found this fascinating, subscribe to Oddly Significant, where forgotten history comes back to life.